the weekend doing, which is making sure that everything fits on the one sheet and doing a sample design and cross-section. He did a few sheets of cross-sections as well. I see you've had time to play with them a little bit.
Yeah, we do a bit of job.
Yeah, can you shut down? Within Civil3d are these standard sort of sheets of title blocks. There's probably nothing wrong with them in some respects, and you'll find when you get into industry, it's not all about your company title block, it's actually about what the client wants. They want their logo everywhere, just like everybody else. So that every time the drawing's picked up, it's got Becky Carter, or it's got Fletcher's, or it's got Jacobs or something written all over it, so that it's part marketing and it's part showing you who's the boss and who's controlling the job. So I'm going to do the same thing to you guys. The old Unitech standard title block needs to go on there with a decent title like you did in design and drawing. And you're going to get your sheets for Dave probably every 10 metres. Is that what you require, Dave? Your cross sections on your assignment? Every 20. Okay. So Dave's talking every 20 minutes. 20 metres. So I'm thinking 20 minutes until I fetch your cold. Yeah, you're talking every 20 metres. I'm talking every 20 metres as well. And I'm going to point out to you a number of things from my old notes for design and drawing. What I did is I picked out bits of them and I put them together so that you don't have to read through all the stuff that's there, and we can get straight to the point on what I'm requiring for you to do. You notice these cross sections. Can you leave it on them, Dave, for a second?
Yeah. Which one's the download is favourite program?
Okay. It was moving. Yeah. Okay. Right. These are a bit raw and saw these cross sections. They should have a line up to the things that they're pointing to, and various other things which I'll point out. So there's nothing wrong with starting them as your base. Okay? I have no idea what layers it's put everything on, but make sure they make sense. If it's layer number CO5633T or something, you know, call it what it is. Lines, text, centre line of road, whatever, the way that I taught you. So, moving, how long are you going to be?
Ready to go now.
Fine, right? Okay. You taking me at the same time? Oh, just tell me and I can keep my language to a dull roar.
It's okay, I'll put that out and it's not.
Oh, okay, you can cut it out, thank you. Yep. So, do you want to have a quick look at the assignment? Just bring it up. Dave's going to make this available to you after today's learning outcomes. You need to teach them a bit more, don't you, before
Oh yeah.
you can let them loose. Okay, so today's the third night of studying Civil3d, and then you're going to get another set of data, and Dave's going to be basically asking you to go through all the things that he's been taking you through. So there's 3 hand-ins, and we thought this would be a much better way of handling it, because rather than one massive one at the end like the last subject, you can do a little bit each week. If you want to, you're more than welcome. There's going to be 3 digital drop boxes there. You're more than welcome to put a hand in each digital drop box if you want and get it out of the road. It's up to you. But each one will close on those dates, and each one will have the same penalties if you haven't uploaded anything. Remember the penalties? Roughly speaking, it's 1 second to 1 hour. There's about a 3-mark penalty, and then it's 1 hour to 1 day, and then 1 day to 2 days, and then nothing. No penalties, then no marks. So you can decide when you want to hand these things, and some of you will nail this within a week or 2. Some won't. Some will find my part a lot harder because they got through design and drawing basically because they're good at speaking, which 1 or 2 students scraped through, and the drawings weren't so good. So they will struggle a bit, whereas ones that did very good drawings for me will find this quite simple. So the assignment itself, Do you want to step through the first bit, Dave? Yep. This is Dave's hand in here. There's 10 marks and then there's another 15 marks for Dave.
So basically you're going to get a data file on Moodle, you're going to get the title block and the logo. Those last two are more applicable to Roger's work than mine, but they're all supplied at the same time.
You don't need to do the Unitech logo and title block for Dave's
my
hand.
drawings. I'm
Okay.
not marking on that.
He's not marking on that.
I'm only marking on your generating of surfaces and models alignments, okay? So your first hand in requires you to create a surface from the points file, put the boundary around it, remove incorrect points, change the styles to display contours every 0.2 meters, provide water flow arrows, and I'll cover that tonight. And in layout space, provide an existing site plan from the survey points to a scale of 1 to 500 to CAD standards as per lecture notes. So according to what Roger does tonight.
Yeah. Remember, design and drawing was a prerequisite for this drawing, for this class, so we would assume that you know something at that level to jump up to this level.
Right, a week later, I mean you can do this all in one bash if you want. I mean, as Roger said, you can all the drop boxes open at the same time, from basically now to whenever. So if you wanted to do it all in the next week, fine. You can upload the first file to the first Dropbox, the second file to the second Dropbox, third file to the third Dropbox, and have it all done in a week or 10 days.
Remember that you can keep saving over the top of your previous upload, so
I'll just quick do it, and then no, I can do it a bit better. Upload a new version, you know.
I don't usually use any like excuses with the old getting a wee bit of sore throat the day beforehand, and when there's nothing in the digital Dropbox at all. Right.
Right. So
You know who you are. You're from the.
okay. So for the second hand in, you need to now go through creating horizontal and vertical alignments on that surface. So you've done this already. The only thing we have specified is the horizontal alignment length is to lie between 321 metres and 339 metres, okay? That's to make sure that everyone's doing the same sort of amount of work, and at 20 metre spacings for the cross sections, we will end up with 18 cross sections. 18. And they will fit on the A1 sheets at 9 per side, okay? So there's just 2 sheets of cross sections to generate. You need to make sure you've got curves in your horizontal and vertical alignments. You'll need to create the assembly, create the corridor surface, and finally create the volume surface and adjust the alignments to balance the earthworks so that they are within about plus or minus 100 cubic metres.
That's not easy to do, but it is very possible.
Yeah.
In the first or second attempt.
Yeah. So you just drag your lines up and down a little bit. You can get your cut and fill, so you're within 100 metres of zero.
That one you showed, was that pretty close?
Yeah, it was about 35.
Okay. Right.
And then finally we're into Roger's one.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over very briefly tonight. Just it would pay to have a pen, a piece of paper, and just write down one or two things that I say, because I pretty much cover what my marketing people will have on it. So with the proposed plan, I'll rip that to bits shortly, but with the proposed plan, basically you're going to take the design off it, and you're going to label or call up anything that's relative that's there. I'm looking at your contours of the existing land being there. So when you're working through Dave's, have a think about what you can preserve for your proposed plan that's got nothing to do with the design. And I'll go over some of the other things you can throw in there. Remember the locality plan? For those of you that haven't thrown away my CAD drawing, you can probably use that one because it is Unitech. And anything else symbol-wise you might put on there. For example, I think it's near a park over there. Is that right? No?
Yeah, we haven't actually picked up.
Okay, all right.
So you get away with that, sorry.
You might get away with with very few things on there, but if you can, there's anything that should be on there, paths, bushes, trees, bridges, creeks with arrows, that sort of thing. That's for the existing plan. For the proposed plan, obviously everything of your design, and you need to cut out the existing contours underneath your design. I'll go over that when we get to that. The cross-section sheets, with Dave, you hit a button and you'll get, I don't know, who knows, maybe 4 sheets, 5. It'll just spit them all out, and it'll decide whether it can fit it on or not. That's fine for his. For mine, I want you to squeeze them onto 2 sheets. So there are some rules with cross-sections, how they're laid out, so in model space you may have to sort of move them along and line them up. And the long section that Dave did, that's okay for some purposes, but I've got a few things I want you to label and put on there as well. I guess if we continue doing this subject, we'll start introducing things like stormwater pipes and that sort of thing, existing buildings, all sorts of extra things into this to make it look a bit better for you to take along to a prospective employee. But at the moment, the ground's a bit raw, so there's only so many things you can put on here. So being the first class to do this, you might get away with not as much as the future generations. Don't forget the auto-generated title block comes off and you insert my one. So we tossed up, and it looks like I'm first in line with my notes first. This isn't, I'm not going to just send you into this with a blind walking stick. I'm going to give you some examples of some good students' work over the years with the roads, so you can have a good look at those and see what's relevant to yours. So if you want to open up, Moodle's got them on it somewhere there. Dave's just going to go into Moodle, won't be a minute. So what I've got in Moodle, I've taken the design and drawing notes and anything that's kind of relative. And I've also put up some PDFs of student examples. And I'll just briefly go over those, and whenever I say something, it'll be a good idea to write it down. Okay?
Because the network's the side of the die.
So the network's still there. Pretty.
For me it is. There we go. Found the mini-tech file at Moodle. Fortunately, I've got to log in on here, so just bear with me.
You're, in some ways, not doing 12D, you've got out of doing quite a bit more work. Instead of my section, you would have a section where you have to go to Auckland City Council, download data and input rainfall data and do some hydrology design at the same time, which, although interesting, kind of adds to your workload this time. And there's a lot of very panicky students around, so at least you're familiar with what I'm asking from a couple of years ago, and you've got half a chance of doing a reasonably good job. If you return to Unitech in the future, you might be privileged enough on one of our information nights to see your work displayed in Technicolor on the boards, because we do tend to grab one or two of the top students' work here and throw it up there as an incentive to future generations. Alright, I've done enough picking out talking. Okay, so I'll put these notes up there, just scroll down a little bit there, Dave, just to give you an idea of the scales that we use in the drawings. You're using 1 to 1,000, isn't it?
I think 1 to 500 should work for us.
What was that one that you had?
1 to 500.
Okay, 1 to 500 and 1 to
200.
200, okay. Carry on there. That should have been cut out. Anyway, carry on. So there's some symbols there. If you do pick up any of those, please put them in the drawing. And like I said before with the river, make sure you put a direction flow arrow of a creek or a pond or a stream or a river if it comes anywhere near the survey. Keep going down. Don't forget the north point. Make sure you put a north point on there. Look, this one's fine. You don't have to be the best graphic designer in the world. That's fine. But make sure it's on the drawing. Carry on. Both drawings, existing and proposed. We're talking about thick lines. I would like to see the thick line. Now, I'm not talking about something that's going to take up the whole A1 sheet. Just a slightly thicker line for the design surface in the cross section, the long section, and also on the actual drawing itself. A good indication is to print a PDF file and have a look. I don't want it that thick that it takes up the whole drawing, but I want it just a little bit thicker than your other lines. If you do print to A2, A4, sorry, you'll get a sort of A1. You'll get a good idea of what it looks like. The existing ground line can be either text or hidden, but that's just a thinner line altogether. I do want to see that as a dashed line. So when I say the design, if the road goes along and it's got better slopes down, that's all part of the thick line thing going on. Just a way of distinguishing when you're looking through all the cross sections where the design line is. Centre line, use that for the centre line of the road. In this case, the centre line is our set out, right? Yeah, it's not always the set out of a road. If it's a motorway, sometimes they put it to the side because it's a bit dumb having the surveyors in the middle of the motorway all the time doing the surveying, right? But generally speaking, on smaller roads, the centre line is the set out. Carry on down. Keep it going. Don't think there's any manholes on your job.
Nothing like that.
Alright. So the existing site plan will contain some notes, so you'll need a little note section there. And you'll see some examples of some notes a bit further on. So there's a little bit of a blurb on existing site plans. Any boundaries that are picked up on your survey should be on there as well. Any retaining walls and any notes on any issues that might be around. For those that want to take their road into the pond area, you're obviously going to have some major issues. Carry on down. Locality plan, just a small plan in the corner. Kind of, I call it just a step plan, just a line plan, just a plan generated to show you where you are relative to, say, the motorway or Carrington Road or whatever. I don't think you have any need for a survey table. We always used to put set out survey coordinates on all our design drawings with the coordinates of every single set out point on the road, but we don't call for that on this project. Checklist. Possible notes on your drawing. Okay, so there's the coordination explanation. Is it in local grid or New Zealand mapping grid, Dave?
Local grid.
Okay, so that all coordinates are according to local grid. Good note. Mean sea level, is that right?
This one, yes, Auckland 149.
And I would say all survey dimensions are in, obviously, metres. Any general notes there with engineering? And or anything that needs council permission. Now, you guys have already done, most of you have already done a design report on that, so there's some damn good notes in there that you can duplicate on your drawings. I'm not going to allocate millions of marks for notes, but certainly you'll be missing out on a mark or two if you're not got anything in there. Text types. I think this time round, instead of being really mean and marking on your text types and your arrow heights, I think I'd like you to use something that's logical and looks pretty good at A1.
Inconsistent.
And consistent. So a general rule of thumb is in layout space, 3.5 millimetres for your general text. 3.5 millimetres, that's a general rule of thumb. You make it 3, that's okay. 1's starting to get pretty small, and 6 is starting to, 5 or 6 getting a bit too big. That's in layout space. If you're not sure, remember what the scale is. It's the scale times what I just said, 3.5 equals a number in model space, and divide that by 1,000. Should write that on the board actually. Seeing as you guys haven't had me for something here. Yeah. 3.5 times, what's the scale?
Well, being on the sheet, under 500.
Okay, so times 500 equals 1750, right? So 1.75 would be quite a reasonable text type to use. The reason why I said 3.5 is if you print that to A3, it comes out quite readable. Whereas if you make it 1, and you print that to A3, it's too small. Yeah, unless you've got a magnifying glass with you. Alright, so that's your average text height. Obviously you'll do it slightly bigger for headings, and maybe a little bit smaller for your contours. Labels. Okay? Cut that off. Oh, nice one. Light up the whole room. That's better.
Anything else?
Yeah, with your layers, I generally grab everything on your drawing, and in the wee box at the top, it should say by layer. So if anything's not by layer, it means that someone, or even Civil3d, has put something on there and just allocated a colour to it, as opposed to a layer to it. It's easily changed. Grab everything, click the box up the top, and where it says colour, go by layer, where it says line type, go by layer. That's the first thing you should do with any drawing you get into any office, anywhere, at any time. Roll down. Just a general explanation of contours. I left that in there. Keep going down. You're asking, what are you asking for contours, Dave? Every?
Well, 0.2 minor, 0.1 major.
Okay, so it falls within the realms of a minor highway or a minor sealed road.
Yeah, probably.
So 0.2 contours, one colour, one label is minor, and another one is major. Every one would be the major. Okay, so there we are. Sometimes my notes make sense according to what the assignments are in the real world. Sort of thing. Keep going down. Keep going. Okay, so here's a bit of an example. It's not actually a road, it's a pipeline, so don't get confused by that. But there are some things on there that you can duplicate. Whatever you call these things down here, I want it duplicated up there in terms of a note. If you've got a dashed line going down here for existing ground, call it existing ground. If it's called reduced level, call it reduced level. If you've got notes, put C note 7, note 6, it's a lot easier to do that. And you can come up with some symbols or whatever for trees if you've got them as well. Obviously, if you find any trees that are near the site, is it possible for them to orientate this site to Unity?
It is true north. When you look at it on screen,
So-
the voice file, it is true north.
And it is near some trees and bushes? Okay.
It's just the edge of the creek, the edge of the bush and the edge of the pond.
Okay, the cut and fill symbol, if you've got any cut and fill, are important as well. The platform, in your case, it'll be a road, so the road level isn't required because the road will come down on an angle like that on your long section, but it does need to be labelled as a road. So this is an example of a platform. We will get to a road in a minute, but carry on down. Okay, keep going. That's a good example for title blocks. Chainage and distances are explained there for people who have forgotten those ones. formation level, carry on. No, don't keep going. Degree of accuracy. I'd like to see at the bottom of your long section, you should put a label under each area where your grade changes on your road. I'm not sure if Dave's long section will have that. If it doesn't, you need to put that there. So, as a brief indication, if you've got a road design which is, that was clever, wasn't it? I love these lights. Bane in my life. Top switch? Top switch. No? Yes? Okay, cool. So if you've got a long section that's sort of carrying on like that, this section here, down the bottom, you've got to put the grade. So that might be minus 3.5%. Then you've got your curve. So with the curve, you're going to put the radius. And are you doing spiral curves leading into it? Yes, no?
Software is doing it, yes.
Okay, if there's a spiral curve leading into there, you're going to have to put the section for the spiral curve as well. Transition. And then of course you might have another grade going up here which might be, I'll leave this on the board, but that might be plus 5.7%. Now that's not quite right because I did say 3 decimal places, so that'll be minus 3.500% and plus 5.780%. So 3 decimal places is what I'm requiring on the actual grade of the road. And I'm not sure if that data does come completely out of...
No, will if you tweak things or not.
Okay. The easiest way to do that, you can use this calculation to work out what your grade is anyway. So
I'll keep them.
all is not completely lost.
Yeah.
Okay, roll on down. Those are just examples of calculations for the grades. Okay, stop here. Final assignment checklist. Once again, it's being on about engineering concerns and suggestions, trees, invert levels on the pipes. I'm just looking for stuff that's relative there.
Where there is ponds.
Okay. Bush. Ponds and bushes is there, and you cut to the cut and filter invert at each point.
Yeah.
In the final assignment checklist, existing plan, similar. Got the legend, locality plan and the notes down the bottom. Don't forget a little legend if you do find bushes and, what was the other thing? The ponds as well.
Ponds and bushes.
Rock down again, contours is another thing you can put. Okay, we're getting a wee bit closer to the sort of thing I'm looking for in the cross sections. You want your road carriageway put in here and any other data at each cross section. One thing you need to note, this is really, really important. We work up our page 0, 5, 10, so you'll go 0, 20, 40, then you come over here which will be 60, 80, 100, and then if you've got a third lot, 120, 140, 160, right? So that's how they go on the sheet. Not kind of just, I'll just bang any one on there. The reason for that is, if we put that sheet on the flat and look at it, we can actually look down the road and see how the road changes. In fact, that's how they make the 3D movies. Basically, it's snapshots along the road as the road gets wider or thinner and changes direction. Pretty good example of a cross section there. I think you've got a little bit more data, didn't you, Dave, out of your one? Is your one there? The one you produced?
Yeah. Section, no, cross section. Yeah.
Yeah, so what comes out of, can't see it, right there it is. This is the data you get. You get the proposed levels, the existing levels, and the difference. The difference is cut and fill. If you go back to my one, this is the way, this is more the company standard. Normally you get the formation level and the existing ground level, and sometimes above it you have the cut and fill.
Well, over here, it's area cut.
Yeah, yeah. That's going a little bit over the top, but then again, if you want to produce, you've only got 18 of them to do, did you say?
Yep.
You can copy the same notes, bang, 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 onto each one pretty quickly. Alright. Remember, this is a complete set of drawings, so make sure that you label them accordingly. Sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5. And the cross-section scale on there as well. They'll be different for the long section, you'll have 2 scales. Have you got the distorted scale?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Or, yeah.
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 Keep going there. Okay. Keep going. There's a few terms there, and there's some more cross sections. If you roll down past these fairly poor little cross sections, you'll see a wee bit of an explanation of what I was talking about before. This area here is our transition, and that's where our super elevation starts getting applied. This is our curve, and then we go back into the transition zone again. That's shown horizontal. It's the same sort of deal with the vertical as well. So roll down again. There's a really good little sketch coming up of the road, a road somewhere. Oh, there it is. I'm not going to make you do this, but normally what we do is we, and accompanying all those cross-section drawings that you're doing, we normally have like a very highly detailed cross-section, which shows your pavement depths and drainage depths, drainage ditches, berms, all the different scenarios that could happen down the road. The other one just shows the raw data. So often we would have something like this which would accompany the drawings so that the engineer on site can have a look at the actual detail and relate it to the very small cross sections as